Test. Got it.
My kids would say I was good at that. But the folks online, they really couldn't hear you. Yeah, that's what Pete told me. Yeah, that's I have to remember that. You know, now it's like, folks are like, oh, I don't need a microphone. It's like, oh, well, you need it, but the folks online can't hear you at all if there's not the microphone. Is it really that quiet up there? I mean, because there's nothing to pick up and it goes to really take it through. Yes. If, you know, if you listen online, you can even, you can hear the singing just a little bit. Yeah. You think about how it. Yeah. Woohoo. So, people sitting down there. I'm the only one sitting up here. I know. It looks like they're doing the front row thing. I can't do that. And I told them, because I can't walk upstairs without a railing. Okay. So, you'll be all right, I think, if you just stay up here. Was that a thumbs up? I couldn't tell. Oh, thank you. Okay, so I need to go to the eye doctor if I can't see that far. Okay, welcome everyone to the State of the Church conversation, I guess is what this is called. I am Brenda Bride. I am co-chair of council starting this year, and so I'm doing the welcoming. A couple of things. If you need a handout, Kevin, he said he'd be in the back, but he's not. Sharon has them, so please pick one up so you can follow along. And then there will be time for questions at the end. And so if you have questions, please type them into the chat or wait till the end and we will go with that. And let's see. I believe then I'm welcoming everyone and we can get going. And I do believe that Nicole is first up.
Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Nicole Smith. I am Director of Christian Education, so that covers children, family, intergenerational, youth, all of it. So whatever my title is officially right now. So first of all, just kind of highlighting some of the 2023 ministry things that we did and our why behind that. We had a new Sunday school class for parents of children and youth that started in 2023, which offers a new opportunity for faith formation and connections among the adults. We had some new youth events that we have started as well. We had a hike, canoe and kayaking. Some of you were involved in that too, so that was a lot of fun. That also connected, kind of did some multi-generational connecting. Our New Year's Eve party, we continued on. This was our 10th year for that, and we had a lot of people helping with that. We really appreciate that. It's a great opportunity for us to reach out to the community, to invite them into our congregation setting, and let people see kind of what we have here, what we're all about. Our trunk or treat, we changed that up this past year to a Halloween fun house, and we did that on a Sunday afternoon. We, again, great opportunity to open up our building, to let people come in. We had different games and things going on in every single classroom. We even had Eleni playing the organ with some fun music, and that way it gave people an opportunity to hear organ music. And it was really cool to see kids coming in and thinking, what is that? What is that sound? And I got to stand back there and tell them about, there's like over 1,400 pipes, and they're just like, whoa. So it was really neat to be able to introduce people, kids, all ages, to the organ that we have too. We'll continue on then. We had our Super Bowl Sunday soup making. Last year we moved that down to the Fellowship Hall, which was a great move. I loved it because it got so many of you to come on over while you were having coffee. You're like, let's check this out. And you got in there and you got to help out with making the soups. The soups all go for the meal that evening then at Food at First. We've done this for many years, probably 10, 12 years now. We will be doing it again this year, February 11th, so mark your calendar, be ready to help out. We'll be heading downstairs in Fellowship Hall again for that this year because we just love that, connecting everybody, all the ages together too. We had Bible buddies at the end of 2022, and some of those relationships were able to continue into 2023, building on that goal that we had for 23 of working on intergenerational connection and relationships with each other. VBS, thank you for all your help that you did, because we had lots of you helping not only with VBS during the week, but if you remember the rock making during coffee hour. So a lot of you were helping with that, and we just appreciate all the help. And again, an opportunity to connect all the generations together. If you haven't noticed, on the north side of our building, we have a free little pantry. Our middle school youth have taken that on, and they fill that up with different snacks and various needs, hygiene needs, things like that. And so we're always taking donations for that. That came out of a VBS project that our youth group did that year. We still have a school snack fund too. So last year we developed a school snack fund. Elementary schools reach out to us when they are in need of building their snack supply. And so it's our way of going beyond the walls and helping schools in our community. Just a continuation then, our 2024 goals. We want to continue with current and also create more intergenerational opportunities connected to service. Again, like I said, the soup making, we'll have lots of different things. Next Sunday, we're going to be doing the loom and all those different things. So that was pushed from the 14th. So be looking for more opportunities for multi-generational service. We're going to continue to grow in faith and learn to share our stories. Again, it's building on the goals of the church in 2024. We're hoping to offer that opportunity and knowledge to grow in faith and to learn how to share their faith story. We also want to continue our community outreach, focusing on the needs of the community. And this can help those who are from the church work together to help others, and also help those in the community to receive assistance and service from our church members working together. And we want to keep working on building our youth ministries. And by putting that under the umbrella of children, family, and intergenerational ministries again, we hope to keep building on that. Youth are very, very busy, and their parents are very, very busy. We know they're busy on Wednesdays, they're busy on Sundays. Those used to kind of be the church days. They're not always anymore. And so we want to work on creating opportunities to meet them where they are and allow them to come different times of the week, different times of the year, maybe even outside of the church doing things. So if you are ever interested in helping with any of those, we can always use extra adults and extra hands with that as well. So that's all I have. Oh, sorry, thank you. Small groups, almost forgot that one. So we have many, many small groups here in the church. We always can continue to add more, but we have a list here. I'll let you look at that. It's also in the handout too. If you do want more information on our small groups, there are these booklets that have been printed. These are the new winter booklets, and they are on the back table. Feel free to grab one. If we run out, we can always print more too. So, but it just tells you a little bit about all the different groups that we have, and obviously you can see from the list there, it is all ages of small groups too. So that's it.
Good morning. I'm Pete Peterson, co-chair of the Staff Relations Committee here at church and at First United Methodist Church. We work to resolve church issues that may concern the staff, and we work to resolve any staff issues that could impact the church. Last year, we supported the reinstatement of Pastor Amanda and Pastor Nikki to the Ames First United Methodist Church. In addition to the Ames Church, they were also assigned to the Colo and Collins churches. We did, because of retirements, wrote new job descriptions for some of the staff. The previous job descriptions were way outdated. Some were as much as 10 years out of date. New office manager procedures were needed to change from a paper handling system to a digital system. And we also updated the custodial duties at the church and the parsonages. We did hire office manager Julie Minot, custodian James Minot, and maintained Vivian Severson as assistant office managers. Both Julie and Vivian are part-time staff members, while James is a full-time custodian here at the church. We help provide health insurance for the full-time staff at a reduced cost for the church. Changed from a previous group policy to individual policies or family policies. We saved roughly 1/2 the cost of the group policy costs that we had. We reviewed and upgraded staff wages at the beginning of 23. We discovered that it had been a number of years since any wage increases for the staff. So we implemented a 6% raise to help those staff members out. Part of our activities including inspecting the parsonages. This is an annual requirement given by the conference. The inspection is always completed with a member of the trustees. And we supported the music program. We helped Eileen with whatever immigration issues that we could. There weren't a lot that we could do. She handled most of that on her own. And when she was reinstated with a visa, we were able to rehire her as organist and music director for our church. While she was out, though, we did maintain a round robin of pianists to provide music each Sunday morning, primarily Amanda Jennings and Mark Forbes. Mark is still the pianist for our Saturday night services. And we reviewed the personnel policy for all of the staff members. We discovered the existing policy was several years old and needed an update. A new policy was written and implemented that included both full-time and part-time staff. And part of our activities include attending all of the staff meetings that go on twice a month. It helps SPRC understand the activities that are happening at the church and to facilitate where help may be needed. Thank you.
My name is Neil Van Slyke, and I'm our representative on the Colo Collins and First United Methodist Church Parish. I want to first of all thank Pete and Clarence. They are outstanding SPRC chairs, very, very methodical and very, very thorough. And we all need to appreciate that. I'm really impressed. Well, our group meets every other month. We met every month, but it seemed to become redundant, so we started meeting each month. If you'll notice the last item down there, that the chair of this committee rotates around, and it belongs to Ames now, myself and Kathy Van Pelt. I was under the impression there was a large stipend and an automobile to go along with this. I was disappointed, but Pastor Amanda has promised to work on that for us. So we meet every other month, and then like any committee, if something comes up, we'll have something called. Essentially, the meetings are if anybody's got any concerns, and then most of it is spent on what's the pastor's schedule. And then a couple of times a year, a great deal of time is spent on what's the pastor's salary. And so we go down that road. So there's a lot of organization that way. So right now, the connection that we have with Colo and Collins is mostly a financial one. We are, let me see what else we have. The second bullet with ways we can help each other, I was visiting with Pastor Amanda about a month ago, and I was recalling back when I played football at Luther that we had a position coach that would call us aside weekly, and one of the things that he would basically look us in the eye and ask us is, what are you going to do this week to make us better? And so one of the things that I want to do in chairing and co-chairing this committee is see what it is that we can do with this parish committee to make the three of us better, or to make at least our connection stronger. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not that. It's just that we've gotten into a point where our meetings are simply financial and check-in and that sort of thing, and perhaps there's something that we can do better. The meeting with District Superintendent Johnson is something that I think Pastor Amanda initiated it, or maybe it was Colo. I don't recall which one really, where the first words came out, but that's something that we need, and we're looking forward to it. There are some scheduling issues that each church has with when the pastor comes and how much time the pastor spends and all of that sort of thing. And we'd like to get some direction from him rather than continually covering the same ground that we tend to do month after month. So that conversation is going to be a good one. I think it's going to be an important one, and I'm anxious to see what comes out of it. That's about it. Yeah, so, and just for your information, Kathy joined on just this past year, and so she's been to a couple meetings, but she's an outstanding member, and we're grateful to have her. So, is there anything else about that that jumps? I was thinking at home, and I couldn't come up with anything huge. Okay, so the car is that's something that's coming.
Find out who's our car dealers in the church, so we can help Neil out. I don't think so. Only just for those that may not know the breakdown, salary wise, Ames pays 75% of my salary and 60% of Nikki's, so that 25% of my time is to go to Colo and Collins, and 40% of Nikki's time, so she does more of the visiting, just kind of for that information. Colo and Collins, so Nikki and I are both appointed to Ames, Colo and Collins, but then there's another church, New Horizons United Methodist Church, which before I came, they had talked to Pastor Karen. They got to a point, and they've got a video that will explain all this, but they currently do not have a pastor. So our sermons are their sermons each week, and they are so grateful for the opportunity to be in ministry with us through the messages. And this summer, we were able, Steve Hanlon and Pastor Nikki and I did go over and meet with them the week that they were going to be having their Bible school. And so we're in ministry with New Horizons, but there's not any official appointment. But I think this is the beauty of the United Methodist connection. So this picture is from when we visited, but I reached out to them and asked if they would send over a video to kind of explain their situation and how they appreciate you here at Ames First. And so we're going to show that video at this time.
Greetings, my name is Kathy Conkin. I'm the lay leader at New Horizons United Methodist Church in Melbourne. We, first of all, are just so thankful to Ames First. A couple years ago, we were hit with our minister retiring, and we were not going to be able to afford a full or even part-time minister. So the leaders of our church got together with our DS at the time, Sean, and put our heads together and said, what can we do to keep our doors open? At that time, we had about 15 to 20 strong parishioners, and it was brought to our attention that we could possibly record a sermon from a church and show it. We had been bequested a video and screen from a memorial, and we had the equipment, we just needed the people. And so God did the rest and brought you all to us through recordings of your sermons. At that time, Pastor Karen was there, and she initiated it just about 2 years ago in January. We started in with recording your sermons. It has brought light into our church. We've gone from post-COVID, no one wanting to come to church, to we borrowed your Bible school curriculum this summer and your supplies, and you let us have that so willingly and so graciously. And we were able to have 25 kids at our Bible school in our community. And then that grew into an after-school kids program. So we have that every Monday night. Our church is active again. People are excited. We have been following your Bible studies. So it keeps going on and on. The ripple effect that one night had, where your ministry said, yes, you can record our sermon, has just been amazing, and we are so thankful. I'm going to turn it over to a few of our parishioners to give their thanks, and then we will culminate with a big thank you to you all. Again, thank you, thank you, thank you, and God bless.
My name is Bonnie Cole, and I thank you for helping me to stay in my local small church, and I don't have to travel, and it's all because of you bringing your church to us on our big screen, and it comes in clear, and I enjoy it every Sunday, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Donna from New Horizons Church in Melbourne, and we are a small church, but we have a very friendly congregation, and I appreciate that fellowship and the sense of community. And it's also a great place for me to develop my relationship with Jesus and more knowledge about my spirituality. And the sermons that we receive from Pastor Amanda and Pastor Nikki every Sunday are wonderful in helping me with that. So I appreciate the thought-provoking and the motivational sermons that we receive.
Thanks for a great VBS.
Tell me what your favorite thing about VBS was.
Playing outdoors. Playing outdoors. Playing outdoors. Playing outdoors.
Arts and crafts. Thank you.
Thank you from New Horizons.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Vivian Severson. I'm the office manager and the one who keeps track of the church attendance every week. And you might know me as the one who stands in the front greeting people, and if you try to walk by, I say, oh, did you sign in yet? It's very important that we get people to sign in so we can keep track of attendance. I've broken down on the slide the average weekly attendance in 2003. In person, 143. Online, 101, and the total is 244. Average in-person per service, Saturday night is 18, 8:30 Sunday, 74, and 11 o'clock Sunday is 51. And if you can't sign in the South Main entrance, or if you're online, please do on the chat, please sign in there, or email the church office or contact me, and I'll make sure that your attendance is marked. Amanda's made a beautiful mathematical sheet that I have to fill out every week, so please, 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 I need your attendance. And I just have a little PS from the welcome team. Please wear your name badges every week. That also helps. Thank you.
Morning, I'm Ben Smith. I'm currently serving as the chair for the Trustees Committee. As we get started here, I'd like to thank the members that rotated off the committee from the last 3-year term. Those would be Joyce Crotty, who served as co-chair and secretary of the committee with me all the years I've been on it so far, Dale Vanderschaff, and Ken Van Pelt. We thank them all for their service the last 3 years, and we've added 3 new members to replace them at the beginning of the year. Those are Alice Moore, Bailey Hadachek, and Terry Goodman. So if you have any trustees issues, those are 3 new people that you can speak to about them, and they'll get them to the rest of the committee. 2023 was another pretty busy year for us. We had a few major projects that we were able to complete, including the installation of the new air conditioning systems that Converse installed for us. As far as I know, they worked great. The startup went pretty flawlessly, and they worked great all last summer, keeping us all cool on even the hottest days. So I think that's going to be a great upgrade for us. TMJ Construction, and specifically one of their employees, Michael Hansen, who's a church member here, he donated some labor and materials this fall to try to improve some of our roof leaks where the new addition and the old building meet. And they were able to improve some of those. You know, the big rain we had around Christmas time, we noticed that they were improved, but there's still a few small ones. And he believes that replacing the whole roof seam between the buildings would fix that. So he's going to get us a quote for that work here this spring, and we'll see where that ends up. Hopefully we'll get to the bottom of that eventually. We've also started completing some repairs that were needed at 1102 Burnett at the parsonage there, Nikki's parsonage, that were discovered during the annual inspections. We've got all the safety issues repaired and addressed, I believe, and we're working through the rest of the punch list as we get funding and or volunteers and labor to do those. We also took a pretty deep dive into our insurance policy. Like most of you realize, the last few years insurance rates have gone up substantially, and ours were no different. And we found a way to save some money and still replace or build a new church building if this one was ever completely destroyed. So we went to an option called functional replacement value, which basically the policy there would build us a new building that would be functional for our needs, but it wouldn't necessarily try to duplicate everything that we have in this current building, you know, like the stained glass, some of the ornate woodwork, some of those things are probably irreplaceable anyway. We decided it wasn't wise financially to keep paying to try to replace the value of those if we may not even be able to find the materials or labor to make it the same even if we wanted to. So making that step, it's saving us about $9,683 a year using that option on the insurance. 2024, we definitely want to get our tuck pointing and masonry repairs completed. This has been an ongoing struggle with contractors since COVID. We waited a couple years with our previous contractor to get the work done, and after COVID they just could not find the labor to ever catch up on their schedule. So we eventually had to make a change there. This last year we signed a different contract with a different company called Iowa Tuck Pointing, and they had a similar issue this fall where they did not get to us, but they claim that we are on top of their list this spring. So I will keep the pressure on them and work closely with them to try to make sure we get those repairs done this spring. The challenge there is there's just not very many contractors that do that type of work here in Central Iowa anymore, and so and apparently they all have trouble finding labor. So we will continue to stay on top of that to get those done before the brickwork and masonry gets any worse on the outside of the building. The privacy fence at the parsonage at 1321 Burnett, where Amanda lives, that wooden fence is several years old now, and the wooden posts are starting to rot. In fact, one portion of the fence actually fell over at one point this fall and had to be temporarily put back up. So we'd like to get that replaced with a new white vinyl, more permanent type fencing. We've had a quote for that last year, didn't have the funding available to do that, so we'll get a new quote this year and hopefully get that completed in 2024. Again, like I mentioned earlier, we want to get that quote from TMJ Construction and probably another competitive bid to replace the roof seam on the flat roof up top on the new addition. And we want to continue working with church leadership and other involved stakeholders. We do have a repair quote for our pipe organ. There's some pipes that are leaning and need replaced with some different metal to make that improve that safety issue there, and the rest, some other pipes need replaced because they're out of condition. It all needs cleaned. There's some other minor repairs that the whole system needs to bring it back up to better working order. And so we'll work with the Finance Committee and other stakeholders to see what are the best options for funding some of those repairs, and talking with other members of the congregation. I've already met with Elaine to see which ones she feels are necessary and which ones are maybe optional. So we'll work through that quote. It is a substantial cost, as you might imagine, for such a specialized instrument, and we'll work through that process to try to find the best value and that meets our current as well as our future worship needs on the organ. That's all I have. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Joel Sullivan, and I'm the co-chair for the foundation with Steve Gray. Steve has opted to go south for a few months. Wise decision on his part. And so I'm talking about what the foundation has been working through for the last year and a half. Our fund balance right now is just over $1 million. One of the things that is particularly interesting of note, and we've discussed this several times in our foundation, of God's work through our hands. The money that we have spent in the last 3 years to help pay off the mortgage, that we have spent to help with funding the HVAC project, to help with different aspects, is within $200 of the money that we have received in donations to the foundation. It is an uncanny connection that those are there, and I don't think it surprises anybody that's in the room this morning why that happens. Our annual budget, we amended our bylaws 2 years ago so that our annual budget is 5% of our last 7 quarters. So we're still trying to recover a little bit from 2022, like a lot of people's 401ks and retirement funds. So our budget this year is about $50,000. We've already committed to helping to fund several projects for our youth this year. We've been working closely with Nicole about the confirmands that we'll be sending to confirmation camp. That'll cost somewhere between $6,000 and $7,000. It's a little higher this year than normal because we're sending the next 2 years this year. So next year there will be nothing coming out of foundation, which will hopefully free up some money for some other projects that we need throughout the building. Obviously, we spent well over our budget last year trying to help the trustees with the air conditioning project. And the other factors that are our known factors, we know that we've already committed to 14 scholarships for next year for youth that are attending various colleges. We have one that is graduating and one that will be going back to school. So our number is the same for those years. We're still uncertain how many scholarship applications we'll receive this year, but we know that it's a relatively small senior class, so we're not anticipating that to change much. But beyond that, the balance that we currently have has maintained fairly steady, which as a foundation we feel is an important goal of ours so that we can support the church in various projects in various ways. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Marty Sankey, one of the co-chairs for the Finance Committee. My current co-chair is Gina McBrain. She's in the audience, and the past co-chair, William Edwards, is in the audience also. I want to thank him for helping me out last year. And many of the slides you're going to see today, William prepared, so thank you. It made my job a lot easier for this. So, start off, I always put our mission statement up there, making disciples of Jesus and serve beyond the walls. Because it takes many things for us to accomplish, to work towards that mission. And one of those, many resources, one of those is that requires us all working together to make us financially sound to be able to support those ministries. And I want to thank all of you here in the audience and online for making that possible. You've done a great job of supporting our church financially. Just today, I'd like to give a little financial overview, and we'll talk a little bit about how we did in 2023 and what we are looking at in 2024 for our budget. This slide here, hopefully you have a handout. I don't expect you to be able to read these slides, but the slide on the left shows you where our income comes from. 85% of our income comes from pledges, non-pledge, and plate offerings. That's a huge percentage. So every fall when we ask you to pledge and we send out reminders, there's a big reason for that. Most of our money comes from pledges, that 85%. Another major source is that we talked about the circuit, the Colo and Collins. Again, we do get reimbursed by those. This coming up, we have about $67,000 that we get from Colo and Collins for the services of our pastors. So that really is a major source of income for us. And then there's the miscellaneous income. One of the big ones, fundraising, building use, but the utility calendar. The congregation has done a great job of contributing towards a utility calendar, and I think it was about $18,000 last year that we got in on that. So that's just thank you very much for that. Now on the right side, we have income on the left, we have expenses. 57% of our expenses roughly is in salaries and benefits. I mean, that is by far our biggest cost. The next biggest would be trustees, which is, if I can read my writing, 19% I believe it is. So between trustees, having this beautiful church, having the 2 parsonages, making sure there's heat, there's air conditioning, that's over 75% of our budget, just to open the doors, to have people, our staff, and to have the facilities that we have. So a very major portion of it. Another major chunk in there is our apportionments. That's one of the more major ones. I think it runs in about 8 to 10% range. This church, I'm going to talk a little bit more in detail about apportionments in a future slide. But that's another major one. Other percentage you see up there would be, what our ministry is, worship, administration, what that all costs. In administration, it costs about $37,000. That's for have our phone, have internet, have computers, office supplies. So again, it takes quite a bit of resources to just run this church. The source of income is, when we ask for pledges. This chart here, and again, please look it over when you have time to look at it, but if you notice, this goes back to 2016 to what we're looking at 2024. One of the trends you'll see is the number of pledges, people that pledge, or giving units we call them, because, for instance, my wife and I are one giving unit because we pledge together. The number of pledges has been decreasing pretty steadily over the years. We had a big bump in 2020, but overall those number of pledges have been decreasing. But what you'll see on the right of that is the dollar amount per pledge actually has been going up. And so overall, we're bringing in about the same amount of money, just fewer people giving, but the pledges numbers have been going up. So again, thank you very much for your support. Highlight a little bit, we'd look at 2024. We're down to, this was prepared about a month ago. We have 131 people. We sent out about 200 pledges. We had 131 responses. But if you look at that dollar amount, $487,000, that's one of the highest amounts we've had since prior to COVID, back in 2016. So again, thank you. People are really stepping up, helping us out. But we'd also like to hear from those other 70 that we sent pledges out to. So always have time for people to send in pledges, and they are still trickling in. So, but again, things are looking much better on the pledges financially. So that's great news. Next slide. Apportionments. I don't expect you to be able to read the numbers on this, but the numbers in red, this goes back to 2018. The numbers in red are what the conference is asking us to give in apportionments. The numbers in green are what we've been able to give. And if you look back, if you notice that line, those red lines, the conference has done an outstanding job of reducing the apportionment asking. As you can see, it was I think it was $128,000 back in 2018. It's come down considerably. And because of our financial condition, we had not been able to pay our full apportionments for many years. We were paying about the minimum, which is 40%. The great news, if you look to the right of that slide, apportionments have decreased. The last 2 years, we've been able to pay full apportionments. I think that's something this church is a very vital goal, that we want to be able to pay full apportionments, and we have met that the last 2 years. So that is great news. In 2024, I believe our apportionments are going to be about $72,000. And so in our budget, we're showing paying full apportionments. So I think that'd be great news to have a third year that we pay full. Next one. These slides, the bars in green are our income, the bars in red are the expenses that we have. And then the little two blue bars are, during COVID, we got the special Paycheck Protection Program, I think it was, PPP loans, that I'll talk a little bit about. But if you look at this, I started on the Finance Committee back in 2016. That's the chart on the, 2019, excuse me. At that time, we had protocols set up, what bills with a priority, how we would pay bills, because we just didn't have much money. That's why we weren't paying full apportionments. You know, we'd pay salaries, that was the top priority, but there's others that we'd put off paying, because just like at home, if I don't have the money, I can't pay my bills. And so there's been a lot of concern on finances. You look at 2020, the church closed down, but if it's amazing, you look, our income was higher than our expenses that year. Plus we had the PPP loan. We got about almost $158,000 in 20 and 21 in the Paycheck Protection Program. That allowed us to build up some cash reserves so that we didn't have to live paycheck to paycheck. And that's a goal we still want to have, is being able to have that cash reserve so that, just like us, we have a savings account. If something comes up, we have the money to be able to pay for it. If you look to the right on that chart, this year most of those years, the expenses have exceeded our income. This year, thanks to you, we actually had, our income was greater than our expenses, and I'll go through that in just a little bit, but thank you very much for that. This shows for the calendar year 2023 that those financial reserves that I talk about. Our goal is really to have about 3 months of expenses in our reserve account. Looking at the 2023 numbers, it costs us overall about $61,000 a year, or a month, $61,000 a month to operate the church, pay salaries, all of our expenses. So, you know, you'd like to have our goal would be to have maybe $180,000 in that account. As you can kind of see, the green bars for the first 3 quarters, those are quarterly updates. First 3 quarters, we're going downhill fairly substantially. And so we were very concerned with, you know, if that trend continues, come 2024, 2025, how are we going to be paying our bills? And then, of course, you know, the congregation stepped up. In December, at the end of November, we had spent $45,000 more than what our income was. So we were in the hole $45,000. That's why the reserves were going down so much. In the month of December, we had a record giving month. We received over $108,000 of gifts in December. To put it in perspective, I look back during those 5 years that I've been on the committee, the highest we'd ever had before that was $83,000 in December of 2020. So we exceeded that amount by $25,000. So having that $108,000 gifts in December, combine that, our expenses were a little bit below normal, lower than normal. We went from having a deficit of $45,000 to we have a surplus of $6,100. So not a huge surplus, but it's a surplus, which is fantastic news. What that does allow us, you see the green bar on the right of that chart, our reserves now are up to $187,000. So we're starting off in great shape for 2024. And this last slide is some numbers. The bar to the left shows what our budget forecast was for 2023. If you look at that bottom line, that net budget, the approved budget had a deficit of $138,000. That's tough to be able to function very long when you have deficits of $138,000. But when you look at the 2023 actual, our income exceeded our projections by $67,000. Our expenses were $78,000 less than what the budget was. So thank you very much for the donations. All the members did a great job to help reduce our expenses. So again, with a $6,100 surplus, it's less than 1%, but it's still a surplus. We got to celebrate our victories. On the right is what we're proposing for the 2024 budget, $713,900 in income, which when we were going through this process, it's a process start October and November primarily, that 713 was quite a bit higher number than the 675, but we really felt that we saw a lot of positive things happening in the church, and we felt we could get that. Now with the actual being 742, let's increase it even more if we can. And then expenses, we're looking about the same expenses as last year. So we are still projecting a deficit of about $22,000. So we're not out of the woods yet. Next one. So again, it's time to celebrate. I'll finish up here. We've paid full apportionments 22, 23. Our income exceeded our expenses in 23. Again, less than 1%, but it is a positive number. We're starting 2024 off in a very good position with our cash reserves, and our pledged dollars are coming in very strong. But I'm a finance guy, so I gotta say, let's not celebrate too much. We gotta keep working here. We need to build that strong financial base because our 2024 budget, we're projected a deficit. We still have work to do. Our number of pledges continues to decrease. We need to start getting an increase in those. And we need to start searching maybe for alternative funding sources. Are there grants out there? Are there places we can rent, things we can rent as opposed to use some of our space? Because as I pointed out at the beginning, it requires all of us working together to make us financially sound. And thank you very much for doing that. And that's it.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to give you a quick overview before we start looking at numbers of the Mission and Outlook Committee. Our committee, we don't have a line item in the budget, so what we do is we take the money that is designated by the congregation, individuals for donating to specific organizations or missions. They're in 4 categories. There's an Iowa Conference, national and international. Funds in 2023 were slightly lower than 2022, but I think we got distributed to all of those 4 areas. In addition to that, we've asked the congregation to also or work with the mission statement, which is being the hands and feet of God. And you've been very successful at that. So first slide, I'm just going to show you numbers. This is where your money went to the local organizations here in Ames, the money that went there. Next slide. Here's the conference appropriations. On the left-hand side would be the conference ones, and then on the other side is the national ones, which is, we had one which was the disaster relief for UMCOR. Okay, next slide. This is the international. This was self-help. The last one, actually, we piggybacked on off of the youth. The youth raised some funds for the Lahaina relief, which was in Hawaii, which was because of the fires the Methodist Church was burned down. What we did is we donated so that we had an even $500 that we donated to that church. Okay, next slide. In addition to these funds that we donate, we also sponsor 2 missionaries. Doug Williams in Argentina and Tempa, and I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name. Temba actually was here on November 9th with the Golden Circle and spoke about his work. He was actually a replacement for one of the missionary that we had for Jane Keys, who retired. Next slide. Okay, in addition to the donations that you give us, we also have several special offerings that we do in church. What we tried to do in 2023 is we kind of had failed or got away from promoting these. So we made a special effort of trying to put little blips into the bulletins or in the newsletter, kind of let you know that these were coming up. And because of that, you guys succeeded. We actually had more money donated to these special offerings in 2023 than what we had in 2021 and 2022. So thank you very much for that. As on the right-hand side, I will say as far as a crop walk, there were more walkers, and we made more money this year than what we did, or in 2023, than what we did in 2022. So thumbs up to the congregation on that. The Good Samaritan Fund, that is a money that is down in the office. In the past, that money has been used for helping with motel accommodations for people, food, along with a gas card and bus tickets. What we did is several of us rewrote those bylaws. We thought between Food at First and several other organizations, there probably was coverage for individuals needing help with rent, with accommodations, with food. So what we do is we donate to the Good Samaritan Fund. With that, we purchase 5 $20 gas cards that and then some Cyride tickets. Once a month, an individual can stop by the office and get those in case they need an emergency of transportation. So that's kind of where that Good Samaritan Fund is. Next slide. The intergathering kits. We were slightly lower than we've been in the past, but we still did a very good job of getting kits put together and the donation. So you'll see down at the bottom the total gift that we donated for the UMCOR gathering kits. Okay, next slide. This is another place that you as a congregation have shined. We've kind of given credit to Carol. We're going to try to carry on Carol's work in that on a weekly basis, she tried to announce to the congregation what donations she took in, how much the total was, and all of that, and then what was needed by Micah. You guys, because I came from South Africa over Christmas vacation, I'm going to tell you, you guys donated an elephant or 2 giraffes to Micah this year. So thumbs up on that too. Access there is a bin out, and both the bins are out, or baskets are out in the entryway. Access is they're not so good on telling us what they need, but you guys still are very good about donating when we need something for that. The last thing on this is we as a mission group purchased a loom for making these mats out of plastic bags. We originally were going to have our first show and tell on that last Sunday, but the cold weather put a kibosh on that. So we're planning several occasions between services to show off our loom that we purchased. Okay, next slide. Another area congregation has shined. I tell people, I was a little leery on starting the Food at First thing because I thought, oh boy, I'm going to be pulling teeth to try to find people to work. We have had no problem finding servers on that fourth Thursday of every month. So again, thank you. Again, this year, as we did last summer, I think it's May through August, we will add an additional service, and that's because Iowa State students leave and they're always short on help. So we will add another one to that, but good missionary work there. Okay, next slide. This is just a list. I always want to point out to everyone, a lot of people here have their own pet mission projects. They're doing this beyond the walls of the church. This just gives you a list of what people have told me they volunteer for. and they don't want credit for that. This is really hard to get credit for these things because people go, I do that anyway. I don't do that for the church, I do it for me. So thank you very much for that. Next slide. I'm going to go over these last week. This is something that started in 2022. With 2 Ukrainians coming here, it grew to 9 families. Many of you volunteered to teach English. Many of you volunteered to transport people around. So this has been a success. And because of that, next slide, please. We've added on the first of the month, we actually voted to endorse this one. I'm just going to let you read over. This is more support for immigrants and needing law. Right now, they're not asking for money. They're not asking for time. They just want to be endorsed. So this is something that's on the horizon. We will keep the congregation informed of where this goes. And the last slide is an additional 2 things that we wanted to get back to adding. Long ago, we'll always say before COVID. Before COVID, we had a service Saturday that we had at least once a month or a couple times a summer or whatever. And then we also assisted with Habitat for Humanity. We want to try to, these are kind of upcoming hands-on things we want to get started again. What I need from the congregation is down at the bottom. I need probably a list of volunteers of things that need to be done. And then I also need a list of volunteers that are willing to do that to help. And it would be like a half a day on a Saturday. So that's what's coming up with missions. Thank you again for the time you've put in. Thank you again for the money that you've given us. Okay.
All right, I'm going to give a quick summary of our 2023 goals, the results of those, and what our focus is going to be for 2024. So in looking backwards, our first goal in 2023 was to increase and improve upon our welcoming and inviting efforts. I want to touch on 3 areas. One would be our pastors on many of our messages on Sundays, or at least the benediction at the end of the service, was about continuing to reach out as a congregation and invite more people to come visit us. The second thing is all of you. I've seen it, I've witnessed it when we have visitors in church. You reach out, you shake their hand, you welcome them, and many of you are inviting people, your friends, your neighbors, or whatever, and those are some really important things. But most importantly, our welcoming committee has done a great job of making sure that most Sunday mornings there's somebody from their committee there watching for people walking through the doors that maybe don't regularly come through our doors, and making sure that they connect with them, get their contact information, and follow up with them and make them feel welcome here. They also do a great job with the postcards when we have the Christmas season coming up, or our rally days, or Easter, or whatever. When we know there's a good reason why there might be visitors, to encourage you all to use those postcards to invite more people to come visit us. And then the other thing they did this year was improve some of the signage, some of our signs outside, so people know who we are when they drive by, and then also inside the church, a lot of signage to make sure people know how to get around, how to find things in the church. The second goal is to promote and grow our services beyond the walls. Steve just did a great job of summarizing all the great things that are going on there, so I won't rehash all of that. The third thing was to increase participation in our current faith-forming groups and explore new options. So some of our more traditional groups like Coffee Talk and Faith and Reason and the Wonderful Wednesday Women, I think those are continuing to grow. Many of them are seeing pre-pandemic participation, or even beyond that in some cases. So that's really good to see that participation. And then some new things that we have a young adults group that actually started about 14 months ago, but continues to grow. We have between 12 and 15 participants show up most first Tuesday of the months. And that group also has started a every other Sunday Bible study as well. So that's been great to see that. Another new group that I would also say a younger segment of our audience here would be many of the parents of Sunday school age kids that called Grounded, that they're meeting fairly regularly on Sunday mornings during that Sunday school hour. So it's been great to see a couple of new groups like that get started in the group, in the church. I think my experience has been if we really want to grow in our faith, being part of a small group is really important. So encourage you all to think about that if you're not part of a small group. And Nicole shared a list of all the different opportunities that we have in this church earlier. So take a look at those things. So 2024, some of the things that we're focusing on for 2024, the first one is to increase our hands-on mission and opportunities. And again, Steve did a great job here. This church has always done a great job of donating things, giving money, and so forth. What we're encouraging here is more serving beyond the walls, side by side by other church members. Food at First is a great example of that that's already in place. Trying to get the ASP trip reignited here, and Steve mentioned Habitat for Humanity, Saturday services. Those are some of the things we're starting to work on for 2024. Second one is to grow in our ability to share our faith journey. So this is kind of extending on the inviting and welcoming piece. I don't know about you guys, but it can be uncomfortable sometimes to reach out to people and encourage them to come to church. So this is really about helping us all become better at that, sharing our faith journeys, sharing our testimonials with others, and helping us be more proactive in that. So more to come in that space. And then the third one is to grow our downtown Ames relationship. Many decades ago, we made a big commitment to downtown when we built this church. A decade ago, when we invested about $4 million to the new addition, continue to invest in the downtown community. We feel like there's an opportunity for us to be the faith leader in the downtown area. So we're going to explore more ways that we can get more integrated into this downtown community here as a church. So with that, I think Pastor Amanda might try to tie things up here, and if we got any time for questions, we'll try to do that quick.
I think we're pretty tight on time, but just to wrap up again where we began with our mission, can you say that with me? To make disciples of Jesus who serve beyond the walls. Disciples of Jesus. People who strive to be like Christ. People who love God and love their neighbor. People who worship. People who learn. People who study the Word. That's being a disciple. That's what all that we do here is rooted and grounded in us having that relationship with Jesus, striving to be like Jesus, growing in our love and knowledge of Christ every day until we see Him face to face, and then sharing with others how they too can be a disciple of Jesus. That's the why we do what we do. And we know that discipleship is not just here in the building. We come here to hopefully be renewed and refreshed and encouraged and comforted to build friendships and be a part of small groups, but then we live out our discipleship each and every day. So when you give and when you serve and when you do, it is all for God's glory that more and more people may be disciples, because we believe that as we make disciples, that's how this world is transformed. The overall mission of the United Methodist Church is to make disciples of Jesus Christ for the transformation of the world. That's our foundation. Thank you for the ways you serve and lead and give. If you didn't pick up on some of Joel and Marty and Steve's, the giving has been amazing. The generosity has been astounding. Full paid apportionments that support ministries through the United Methodist Church here in Iowa, around the United States, and across the world are happening because of you. Because you gave enough in December to put us from being in the negative to being in a positive. It astounded everybody on the finance committee. They were so surprised. They had been so worried, but you stepped up, all for God's glory. The gifts, the endowment. People left gifts, the lasting legacy totaling over $400,000 last year, because they said, you know what, we believe in Ames First even after we're gone. We want to see this church keep making disciples. So that's the why. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being the church. Let's continue to be the church and grow the church and serve the Lord and make disciples of Jesus who serve beyond the walls. I really think we're probably at time, unfortunately, so we're not going to be able to take questions. There may be some questions in the chat. If you type those in, Mike will get those to Kevin and Brenda, and we'll get back to you individually. Please see Kevin, Brenda, or any of the leaders if you have specific questions, or email or reach out to them. We want you to be a part and in the know of what's happening here at your church, but really at God's church. Go in peace. Amen. Or stay for worship if you're here for 11 o'clock.